Here's something most people will never tell you. Some of the most emotionally intelligent and deeply intuitive people alive today didn't learn these skills. They acquired them naturally through life's challenges. Not in classrooms, not from self-help books, and not through years of silent meditation, but thanks to circumstances that left them no other choice. We have this image of emotional intelligence as something cultivated, something peaceful, something chosen. But for a significant number of people it was forged, under pressure, in environments where reading a room wasn't a social skill, it was a survival skill. And if that sentence landed somewhere specific inside you, keep watching. Here's the psychological premise, and it matters that you hear this clearly. Trauma doesn't only wound people. In many cases, it also sharpens them. Research in developmental psychology suggests that children who grow up in unpredictable or emotionally complex environments develop a heightened sensitivity to social cues, emotional patterns, and nonverbal communication. Their brains, specifically the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, are wired early on to detect signals that most people never learn to see at all. Psychologists have started calling this traumatic intelligence. There are 5 signs you carry it. The first sign: you can read a room before anyone says a word. You walk through a door and something shifts in you immediately. A quiet alertness. You catch the tension in someone's posture. You register a micro-expression that crosses a face in less than a second. You feel the emotional temperature of a space the way some people feel the weather. This isn't mystical intuition. It's pattern recognition trained into your nervous system from an early age, in environments where catching the signal early wasn't optional. Your brain learned to scan because at some point scanning kept you safe. This is why you're always the first to know when something's wrong, not because you're anxious, because you're calibrated. The second sign: sometimes you sense what people need before they even realize it themselves. Someone says, "I'm fine," but you already know they're not. It's not because you're projecting your own thoughts onto them, but because there's something in the way they say it, something the words don't say that tells you otherwise. Psychologists call this hyper-empathy. This trait develops most strongly in people who grew up viewing the emotional states of those around them, not as a social skill, but as a matter of survival. You learn to feel for others because your environment demanded it. And now, even when the environment is safe, this ability doesn't disappear. This isn't a weakness. It's a nervous system that was trained to love carefully, long before it even knew what love was supposed to look like. Stop for a moment. If you've recognized yourself in either of these signs, I want you to hold on to both at the same time. The strength these experiences have built within you, and the price you paid for them. You don't have to choose between honoring one and grieving the other. Both are true. Both are yours. The third sign: when everything falls apart, you go calm. While people around you freeze or spiral, you assess. You identify. You act. Researchers describe this as stress inoculation. Individuals who experienced early adversity develop nervous systems that are better calibrated for high-stakes situations, because high stakes wasn't the exception in your early life, it was the baseline. Your nervous system didn't just survive difficult environments, it trained in them. What others experience as overwhelming chaos, you experience as a problem with a solution. You just have to find it. This is why people call you in a crisis, not because you're fearless, because you were forged for exactly this. The fourth sign: you don't wait to be rescued. You quietly and independently come up with a solution yourself, often before anyone even realizes there's a problem. When your environment didn't offer reliable support during childhood and asking for help felt risky, your brain made a smart move. It internalized competence. It stopped delegating the task of feeling good to others. Dependence felt dangerous, so competence became the default. As a result, someone emerged who overcomes serious challenges without ever showing it. Someone who finds their balance in the chaos before others even realize the ground is unstable. Before anyone taught you what anchors are for, you learned to be your own anchor. The fifth sign: trust doesn't come easily to you. But when it does, it's one of the most profound things you give. Your threshold is simply higher than average. Cognitive psychologists call this adaptive skepticism, a calibrated response built by a nervous system that learned early on that not all signals of safety were genuine, so you observe more closely. You listen for what people don't say. You look for patterns over time, not just first impressions. And the connections you do form, unusually real, built on honesty, tested by time, hard to break. Your caution isn't a flaw, it's discernment developed under circumstances that required you to distinguish between what's safe and what's merely familiar. Here's what the world, which is constantly mistaken about people like you, sees. Too sensitive, antisocial, overthinking, closed off, self-sufficient to a fault, and always calm in crisis, etc. What it actually is: high-frequency emotional perception, advanced pattern recognition, elevated trust threshold, hard-won internal competence, stress-inoculated nervous system. You were never broken. You were responding intelligently, continuously to a world that asked more of you than it should have, earlier than it should have. And the person that process built, rare, perceptive, quietly and extraordinary. If these 5 signs feel familiar to you, not as a goal you want to achieve, but as a description of how you experience the world, then something has changed. You haven't just learned something new, you've realized something old. Something that has been a part of you for a long time, quietly waiting to be named. The way you read people, the way you carry others on your back without anyone asking, the calm you find in the chaos, the depth you feel, the care you show when you love. These aren't random traits. They are the architecture of a mind that had to gain wisdom before it could grow. Before you go, I want to ask you something real. Which of these 5 signs felt most like home? Drop the number in the comments. I read every single one, and the answers are always more moving than I expect. And if someone came to mind while you were watching someone who carries all of this quietly, without ever having had it named, share this with them. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can offer someone is the words for what they've always already known. This channel exists to shed light on those parts of you that are always real, yet can never be fully defined. If this matters to you, subscribe, not for the algorithm's sake, but for that version of yourself who is still learning what you've been carrying inside all this time. You were never too much. The world just wasn't always built to handle what you carry.